Welcome to Let's Talk Democracy. I'm Tina Johnson, your host. Join me as we talk to the people on the front lines, the change makers and activists who are building a stronger, healthier democracy for all of us. Whether you're looking for expert advice, a new perspective, or just a little inspiration, this is where you'll find it. Welcome back to Let's Talk Democracy. I'm Tina Johnson, your host. And if you've been scrolling through your feeds lately, I'm willing to bet you felt it, the heavy, unmistakable sense of emotional whiplash. One minute you're watching international unrest flare up, the next you're seeing massive street protests, and then you're reading a headline about the systemic strain fracturing democracies worldwide. It feels massive. It feels overwhelming. Frankly, it makes you want to pull the blankets over your head. When we look at democracy strictly through the lens of geopolitics, it feels like a failing, top-heavy machine. But over this past season, we've been tracking a completely different narrative, a quieter, tougher, and far more resilient one. This is what we call democratic scaling. It's the realization that big systemic changes don't actually start at the top. They scale up from the small, hyper-local activities that anyone, anywhere can replicate. Today, for our Season 3 wrap-up, we are pulling together the ultimate blueprint. We're looking at the raw, ground-level mechanics of how regular people are keeping democracy alive when systems fail. We're breaking it down into 3 core pillars: mutual aid, deliberative space, and crowdsourced governance. Mutual aid, deliberative space, and crowdsourced governance. You don't need a seat in Parliament to change the world. You just need to look at what's happening on your block, in your neighborhood, in the communities that you live in. Let's get into it. Let's start with Pillar 1, reclaiming the commons and mutual aid. The core insight here is simple but radical. When formal state institutions falter, freeze up, or polarize, citizens don't just sit around. They step in to build parallel systems of care and physical presence. This isn't traditional charity. We talked about this with Viola a few episodes back. This is not a top-down approach. This is solidarity, horizontal, peer-to-peer survival. We saw 2 incredible examples of this globally this season. First, let's look back at the emergency response rooms in Sudan, which we highlighted a few episodes ago. When conflict escalated and institutional infrastructure completely collapsed, it was youth-led, neighborhood-based rooms that saved lives. They self-organized via WhatsApp and localized networks to distribute food, coordinate emergency medical aid, and map out safe evacuation routes. It is grassroots solidarity functioning as a literal lifeline. And across the world in Latin America, we've seen the long, powerful history of ollas comunes, the communal pots, in places like Chile and Peru. When economic crises or political upheaval left thousands food insecure, neighbors pulled their literal ingredients to feed entire communities. But here's the democratic twist. Those kitchens weren't just about food. They became physical hubs for neighborhood assembly, space for local political debate, and breeding grounds for civic organizing. So, what's the lessons for you listening at home? The listener action here is: do not wait for a crisis to build community resilience. I'll say it again. Do not wait for a crisis to build community resilience. Start a micro mutual aid project on your block this week, in your church, in your community center. It could be a community tool share library, a neighborhood food pantry, or a simple phone tree for elderly neighbors. Build the muscle of collective care now, so the infrastructure is there when your community needs it most. Moving to Pillar 2, deliberative democracy. Let's face it, it's an ugly truth. Our mainstream digital spaces are engineered to reward outrage. The algorithms crave polarization because anger drives engagement. To fix democracy, we have to unplug from spaces that monetize our divisions and step into physical spaces intentionally designed to reward consensus and deep listening. We can just look at what's happening in East Africa. In certain countries like Malawi and Uganda, communities have been pioneering deliberative risk management and anti-corruption panels. Everyday citizens gather in physical, structured assemblies. They don't just complain about corruption or infrastructure failures. They look at the data, debate priorities, and co-create community flood mitigation strategies directly alongside local urban planners. It turns anger into actionable policy. We've seen this work on a national scale too, with the famous citizens' assemblies in Ireland. The government brought together randomly selected demographically representative panels of everyday citizens. They sat them down with experts and allowed them to debate complex, deeply polarizing constitutional issues like abortion and marriage equality. And guess what? When given a structured, respectful environment, regular people reached historic, nuanced consensus recommendations that politicians had dodged for decades. Your listener action for Pillar 2. Step out of the comment section. Host a structured dialogue night or a neighborhood salon in your living room or local community hall. Gather 10 people, ideally folks with different backgrounds or viewpoints. Set strict ground rules. No interrupting, and focus on listening to understand rather than replying to win. Pick just one local issue, like school zoning or public park maintenance, and see where your common ground actually lies. Our final pillar is crowdsourced governance and direct action. Too often, technology is weaponized to divide us. But when designed with democratic intent, it can open up the levers of government directly to the people. We aren't just talking about clicking a petition online. We're talking about giving people actual legislative and budgetary teeth. A prime example of this is the deliberative participatory budgeting frameworks in places like Kenya. At the county level, this system brings community members directly out of their homes and into public halls. They don't just listen to a budget speech, They actively debate, vote on, and allocate a real percentage of regional taxpayer funds for specific infrastructure projects, healthcare clinics, and local schooling. And if you think this only works in rural or developing regions, think again. In the United States, cities like New York and Philadelphia have adopted this exact blueprint. Through participatory budgeting, New York City and Philly's infrastructure funds, local city council members hand over millions of dollars of real discretionary capital funding directly to the neighborhood. Everyday residents, including youth and marginalized groups who often feel completely ignored by the political machine, get to brainstorm ideas, develop formal proposals, and cast ballots. They're directly voting on which local parks get upgraded, which schools get tech investments, and which streets get safety upgrades. It completely flips the script on how tax dollars are spent. If you want a digital masterclass on how to scale this even further, look at Taiwan in Taiwan. This is an open governance model that blends smart digital platforms with offline hackathons. When a new controversial issue arises, like regulating ride sharing or online sales, the platform uses an AI-driven tool called Poll.is to map out public opinion, grouping people by consensus rather than division. Lawmakers and citizens then sit down at the hackathons to crowdsource and draft actual national legislation based on those consensus points. The listener action here is about taking up space. Go to your next city council meeting and demand participatory budgeting for your neighborhood. Or if you want a faster start, use open source polling and consensus tools to gather data on what your neighborhood actually wants. Whether it's a new bike lane or crosswalk repairs, and present that unified data to your local officials. Make it impossible for them to say, "We don't know what the people want." As we wrap up this third season of Let's Talk Democracy, I want to leave you with one final, undeniable thought. You do not need to run for president to save democracy. You just need to organize your street, your neighborhood. The global headwinds are real and they are fierce. But the antidote to despair is action. Look at Sudan, ERRs, the Chilean Ollas Comunes, the Irish assemblies, and the crowdsourced budget initiatives in New York and Philly. These aren't magic tricks performed by political elites. They are blueprints created by regular people who decided they had waited long enough. Now, Let's Talk Democracy is taking a production hiatus for the summer. We'll be off the airways until September, but here is my challenge to you. Don't let this be a summer of passive scrolling and political anxiety. Let this be a summer of pattern-changing action. I want you to pick one global model we discussed today. Just one. Will it be an offline dialogue night? An ERR-inspired mutual aid group? Or a local campaign for participatory budgeting? Pick it, commit to it, and use these next few months to bring it to your community. To help you hit the ground running while we're away, our team at the Pattern Change Lab has put everything we talked about today into a single printable resource. the Season 3 Global Action Toolkit. It includes the Neighborhood Skills Audit Ledger, printable table, placards with ground rules for your dialogue night, and the exact 2-minute script to use at your city council meeting. It is completely free, and you can download it right now. Pull out your phone, open your browser, and go to patternchangelab.com/let's talk democracy/toolkit. patternchangelab.com/let's talk democracy/toolkit. Use this toolkit as your summer project. Work with your neighbors, build those local networks. And when we return this September for Season 4, we'll be looking to highlight the stories of listeners just like you who decided to change the pattern on their own block. Thank you for an incredible Season 3. Keep talking, keep listening, share this podcast so others can join the conversation. And most importantly, keep building. Have a powerful summer, and I'll talk with you soon.